Okay, so just some quick announcements before we start. We are ahead of schedule, so today we are starting the marketing unit, and then on Monday we will be discussing the final. So I know Ariane, she emailed us asking a few questions, so we'll kind of go over everything on Monday for the final. Kendi, do you have anything else?
I think that's it. Oh, wait, actually, really quickly. So the Zoom address that we've been giving you guys for right now is going to be this one we're using for the rest of the week. But next week it might change a little bit, so just make sure to keep looking at your emails and stuff, and we'll send you a new link if it does change.
Oh, and also, Kemdi and I will be alternating units. So this week, like I'm covering marketing, and then Kemdi will cover HR, or vice versa.
All right, let's get started.
Okay. Ooh, let me. Okay. Okay. So obviously we're in unit 2 of marketing, and we'll go a little slower this time, so you guys can take notes. Okay, so we have 6 sections that we're going to cover. I'm really just focusing on the most important things out of these 6 sections. So if you do have any follow-up questions, just feel free to text them or whatever. So first, we'll be covering the role of marketing. Second, marketing planning. Third, marketing research. Fourth, the 4 Ps. Fifth, e-commerce. And then lastly, we're going to end with the 7 Ps, which is our final project. Okay, first, what is marketing? I think everyone knows what marketing is, but the little definition is the management process responsible for identifying and anticipating and satisfying consumers' requirements, profitability. And there are many management functions, including the following, like market research, product design, pricing, advertising, distribution, customer service, and packaging. Okay, section 1, the role of marketing. So there are things called market characteristics, and markets have characteristics, and we can assess them by certain things. The following 5: market size, market growth, competitors slash ease of entry, differentiated by homogeneous products, and segmentation. So I'll be covering all 5 of them. Okay, first, market size. So whenever it's underlined, that's like a vocab definition. So just for you guys to know, market size is the total level of sales of all products within a market. And market size can be measured in 2 ways. So volume of sales, which is like the units or packages sold. And then there's also values of goods sold, which is the revenue or the money income. And then the size of a market is very important for 3 reasons. So first, a market manager can assess whether a market is worth entering or not. So any startup, like for example, going into tech, that's a huge industry, so it's a lot easier for you to get in, but you are competing with such big companies like Apple and Samsung. Second, businesses can calculate their own market share. I don't really know much about the market share, but I know there are people that can calculate that. And then lastly, growth or decline of the market can be identified. So there could be like dying markets. I think you guys have all heard of that phrase. So let's say you come up with a product, however, that is a dying market, then it's just obviously not a good choice of entering that market. Okay, market growth. The definition of market growth is the percentage change in the total size of a market. So that's referring to either volume or value over like a period of time. And market growth can be measured in two ways, volume or value. And of course, like the pace of how quickly or how slowly the market is growing is based on a lot of things like economic growth, changes in consumer incomes, development of new markets, and changes in consumer taste. So, changes in consumer incomes, especially right now, going back to COVID-19, a lot of people have lost their jobs. So, the market is a lot smaller, and a lot of people aren't buying as much as they used to. Um, and then changes in consumer taste. We used to eat out, but now a lot of people are using Uber Eats or Grubhub to buy all their food. So that's just another way of a consumer changing their taste. Okay, competitors and ease of entry. So ease of entry is kind of like the lack of barriers for the establishment or company of new competitors in a market. So businesses need to be aware of the number and size of their direct competitors and the ease with which new rivals could join the market. So, like I said before, you are a startup company and you are entering the tech market. It's really difficult for you to succeed because you're, competing with such big and famous companies. So if you find like a niche market, niche is very small. If you find a niche market, it's a lot easier for you to succeed. And the greater the number of competitors, the easier it is for new ones to join a market. And then there'll be a different like price competition. So, for example, I'm selling pillows for $5 while my competitors are selling for 10. A lot of consumers will buy my product more than my competitor because it's a cheaper price. Okay, differentiated or homogeneous products. So if you don't know what a homogeneous products are, they're goods that are physically identical or viewed identical to consumers. So businesses selling differentiated markets will be less able to stand out from rivals in terms of product quality. So again, I'm selling pillows. My competitors are selling pillows as well, but we both have the same quality. So people will just refer to my company and my competitor's company as the same because we are selling the same type of pillow. So it's just very hard for you to differentiate yourself in such a big market. So you definitely have to find a unique selling point, which I'll discuss later on. And it will be difficult for a business to charge prices different from the going rate for these products. So let's say I'm selling hydro flasks and the going rate is $30. And let's say I want to gain more profit, so I bump up the price. It's a lot of people are going to still buy that $30 hydro flask because it's a lot cheaper and just more convenient for them. Okay, and then lastly is segmentation. So the definition of segmentation is dividing a market into distinct groups of consumers who share consumer tastes and requirements. An example of that, phones. Okay. For example, there are a lot of people who prefer an Android over an iPhone. So that is one huge market of phones, but there are different people who prefer different things, but we all still want a phone. Target market, the definition of that is focusing marketing activity on particular segments of the market. So it recognizes the diversity of consumers and does not try to satisfy all of them with the same good or service. So again, going back to a niche market, if you find a very niche, if you create a niche product that can serve a lot of people, then that's perfect, like very ideal. And mass marketing, the definition of that is selling to the whole market using a very standard product with the same marketing activities. Um, yeah, it's just selling with the same very generic product. Um, Sorry, one second. Kendi, I think you skipped a slide.
Did I?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So the difference between marketing goods and marketing services. So this is just basically the difference between good and a service. So consumer goods are tangible products marketed to consumers, while consumer services is intangible provisions of an activity to end users. So for example, I can be selling water bottles while Kemdi is selling Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi box, I don't know. What are some differences between consumer goods and consumer services? So services are consumed immediately and they cannot be stored. For example, we can't. Uh, for example, a consumer good is a car, but the service is maybe cleaning the car. And services cannot be taken back to be repaired or replaced. So the service quality like has to be right so that the consumer is not upset or will return or want to return the service. Another example is like a car wash. Let's say someone or like the car wash people, they missed a huge spot in the car. Everyone would get upset saying, I paid for this. Why didn't you wash this big chunk of the car? Okay, building trust. This is very, very important, even outside of business, just for day-to-day lives. Entrepreneurs has to one sell confidence and to have trust in themselves. And there's rarely an opportunity to correct and fix your mistakes because For example, I don't know if you saw, but yesterday it kind of blew up. There is a up and coming CEO of a tech software called Solid 8, and he was at a restaurant and started making racist remarks towards Asians, and because of that, his reputation is over. So even that company Solid 8, it's completely over. A lot of people are leaving that company. So, you really have to create an image for yourself so that businesses and even consumers will take you seriously. And time for delivering the service. The business must be certain it is able to deliver while still managing and providing services for others. Um, One example that I can think of is, small businesses, like maybe they're selling necklaces. They have so many orders coming in, but they just don't have the time to make and distribute at the same time. So they just have to make sure that they are on top of their game and are available to both make and deliver.
Is it that one?
One more. Yep. Okay, deliverability. So, a major challenge with a lot of marketing services is being able to convince their consumers their that quality results can be delivered within a given period of time. So going back to my example of startups and selling necklaces, since they're a startup, a lot of consumers can't trust them because they just don't have a really good reputation or have good PR, public relations. So they really have to show and lead by example that they can make necklaces and deliver at the same time so it won't be pushed back. Um, yeah. Relationships. So, when service businesses build up trust and a long record of reliability, supplying high levels of service consistently, they begin to establish relationships and by establishing relationships that can help them long term with sources of revenue as well as, like I said, creating a better chance of positive feedback via social media. Um, like I said, going back to necklaces, um, you need to show by example that you can create a trustful and reliable service. And then a lot of people can leave reviews on your website or your social media platform saying, I received my order right on time and it was flawless, etc., etc. Chem D6. So nonprofit making organizations. So they're distinguished. They're obviously different from profit making organizations by three things. So, first, most non for profit organizations do not have external shareholders providing risk capital for the business. So, I think we discussed it on Monday, but shareholders are people who kind of have like a say in the business. So, these people are for non for profit organizations basically just don't have a backup with money. Second, they do not distribute dividends, so any profit that is um, retained by the business is just more capital or money. And lastly, their organizational objectives normally include some kind of social or cultural, philanthropic, welfare, or environmental dimensions. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but one example is like Tom's, even though they do make profit, if you buy one pair of shoes, then they donate to a small organization. What are the differences in marketing in nonprofit making organizations versus profit making ones? So the importance of maintaining high ethical standards to avoid alienating the public, constant feedback on success of charity campaigns, and even further issues to address to really maintain that good PR, or even, yeah, good PR. And lastly, free publicity. So it's really just to capture the public's imagination and, yep. Also, if you guys have any questions, just feel free to chat or maybe stay at the end.
Can you explain the first point?
The importance of maintaining high ethical standards to avoid alienating the public. Sure. So for nonprofit making, for profit seeking ones, since they are collecting money, they still need to have like a good image of themselves to show that they're not just in it for the money and instead they're actually trying to help someone or something.
Yeah, and I'm gonna chime in on that question. Essentially, the importance of keeping a high ethical standard is just because, like Alex said, they are a nonprofit, which means that their brand image is extremely important, even more so than a normal business would be. So if they can't keep the public happy or like make them understand that what they're doing is actually important and they're helping good people, what they're trying to do is actually probably won't work because they have to have public support and stuff like that, and that means avoiding alienating the public. Alex, there's a question about risk capital from Ashley.
Oh yeah, let me read it.
Just wants to know what it is.
Okay, sure. So do you want to go back to the slide?
Yes.
So just press the.
Yeah, hold on. My computer's lagging a bit, guys, so if it doesn't go immediately. Okay, hold on.
Okay, so it says most non-for-profit organizations do not have external shareholders providing risk capital for the business. So it's also commonly referred to as venture capital, and a lot of private equities kind of help fund startups or early stage companies. So kind of like investors, honestly, they really do help the organization, up and coming organizations, just in case they need to fall back or if they just need extra money to help them, grow quicker.
Yeah, and the exact definition is just money that's invested in a project when it still has risk. So when they don't know that the project is actually going to succeed yet.
Okay, and then now marketing strategies. Okay, how marketing strategies evolve in response to changes in consumer preferences. So this is huge. Changes in consumer preferences should be researched, anticipated, and acted on by marketing development or R&D, called research and development. Some examples are fuel efficient cars. A lot of people nowadays are trying to buy fuel efficient cars to really save the environment for obvious reasons. And one big, huge example is Tesla. They are, one, a luxurious car, but also are fuel efficient. So that's just best of both worlds for a lot of consumers, obviously. And another one is healthy foods. I haven't really heard much about these, but McDonald's salads, I don't think they started offering until recently, obviously because of consumer change preferences. So a lot of people now are trying to go vegan or at least vegetarian. So I know, like, even McDonald's, they're a fast food restaurant company, but they're still trying to make up by providing salads. And then informal business clothing. One example that I can think of is, I think Facebook or Google, a lot of workers, they don't come in like business suits or anything. They just come in a t-shirt and jeans, which is really crazy to me because Facebook and Google, they're just huge companies. But again, that's just how their company works. And, I respect that. And then some businesses, if they do fail to respond to these changes in preference by developing and marketing new products, they'll normally quickly lose sales and market share because, you know, everything's for the consumer, for the customers. So if you don't change and adapt quickly, then your business will fail normally. Okay, so how innovation, I'll be talking about three things: innovation, ethical, and cultural, how they may influence marketing practices and strategies in any organization or company. So for innovation, the major innovations in most recent years have had an impact on marketing activities. The two major ones are guerrilla marketing and internet marketing. So, guerrilla marketing is a marketing tactic where a company uses unconventional ways to promote a product or service. So, as you can see on the right, the street is kind of dirty, but there's that one strip to show how well Mr. Clean can work. If you don't know what Mr. Clean is, it's a cleaning product.
Yeah, another example of guerrilla marketing would be how Progressive started doing those really funny advertisements. They're quite normal to us now, but at the time they were definitely seen as odd. But it's probably why they have such a big consumer base and stuff like that. And it's because they really thought outside the box and decided on thinking of a way that to get people engaged, not only through like billboards and stuff, but also through the TV.
And I'm sure like a lot of people know like who Flow is, so that's just one huge example of how well they marketed their company. And then also internet marketing, the only example that I can think of is social media, especially like TikTok. Um, they a lot of startups really market their product on TikTok, and that just kind of blows up. And then also social media in general, like Instagram, you will see a lot of pop-up ads saying like, "Oh, shop here," you know. So it's just obviously social media is a huge part of everyone's lives. So that is just one huge way that a lot of organizations can market their product or service.
Yeah, and we've been talking about a lot of big multinationals, but this also applies to smaller businesses. So, for people who work out of their house or like are working on expanding later and stuff like that, marketing through social media is extremely effective. Not only because they're targeting our generation, which is about I think the biggest consumer base at the moment, but because they're just utilizing a different way of promoting and stuff, and it usually works.
Mhm. And even same for operation CEOs. Like we would have never been able to contact any of you guys unless we had Instagram or, you know, LinkedIn.
And for that, we say thank you. There we go.
Okay, last two. So for ethical considerations of how they can influence marketing practices or strategies, a lot of marketing activities can have a major impact on whether a business achieves its ethical objectives. So, for example, a lot of you guys may know this, but Nike, they kind of source their clothing or shoes out of like a factory that is kind of well known for child labor, I think. So that's just a lot of reasons why a lot of people have kind of boycotted Nike, although it's still, you know, one of the number one athletic apparel companies. And for cultural, failing to respond to cultural differences can lead to bad feeling and bad PR, whereas responding to local tastes and sensibilities can really encourage consumers to accept a new brand as being designed for their needs. So if you're aiming your product towards a certain culture or a certain area and you're not, you know, thinking globally, I'll explain that later. But if you're not thinking globally, then a lot of people just kind of think badly about this company and how you're not appreciating someone's culture or, you know, yeah. So global means, what is it?
Global and local.
Think globally, act locally. So you have to think of it from a huge worldly perspective. But when you're selling your product, you have to think about the local people. You know, I think Kennedy and I, when we were learning about this, we had to do a case study, and it was something about palm oil. And I don't know if you, but anyways, someone was sourcing palm oil from a very small island, I think, and they were just not appreciating the culture. So a lot of backlash was received for that company.
And that goes into the ethical thing that Alex talked about too. Like she gave the example of Nike and stuff like that, and it's honestly unfortunate. Every brand that we boycott isn't going to disappear. Like for example, Nike is going to be in the game for a very, very long time. But that's just because that they've become big enough to where that they're almost it feels like they're immune. But this isn't the case for a lot of brands. For example, like the Enron scandal. Like we know that there are brands and stuff like that when they do something really bad and the public finds out about it and stuff, it really does have detrimental impacts on their business. So to avoid this even happening in the first place, just be ethical. If you're to start a business and stuff, just do it right the first time, and therefore you don't have to like play it back and like try and fix the mistakes that you've already made. So like pay your employees and stuff like that. Like let's just not. It's better to avoid them while you still can, and while you're still small enough to.
Mhm.
All right. All right. That's the end of the slides for today, but as you can see, the time isn't done, so we are gonna go on to our discussion for today. Now, this discussion, we're not going to do it every day. It just depends on how early we finish the content we need to cover for that day. But today we do have 3 questions, and the way this is going to work is that we'll answer the questions first for ourselves, but we do want you guys to either drop in the chat or take yourselves off of mute and just engage with us and answer the questions as well. All right, so the first question is, what would you do to build trust with your customers? What part of trust means the most to you? So I guess I will go first. I'm just going to do it in reference to the organization that we have now, so Operation CEOs. I guess the first thing that we did to build trust was to give you guys a certification. So we have been taking business for what feels like forever and stuff like that. So we are qualified to teach what we know and stuff like that. So we had to make sure that and that's why we didn't start this organization sooner, actually, because we didn't want to give you guys information that we weren't 100% on, that we knew and stuff like that. So that was how we chose to build trust.
Sorry, I'm going to screen share. Can you guys see the questions? Camden?
Yeah.
So for me, I'll just talk about Operation CEOs again. A lot, like in the beginning, it was really difficult for us to get a huge audience. So we definitely had to reach out and, kind of explain our full process of like what we plan on doing and what we want to do, what our goals are. So it's just really just laying it all out for people to understand so that they can understand, like, okay, Operation CEOs wants to teach kids about the basics of business management. Okay, beautiful. I trust them. They told us our credentials, blah, blah, blah. So that's just one idea of how you can build your trust, just really laying out what your plans are.
All right, so then I'm going to read the one from Abigail. She said, for me, I would make, or he or she, I'm sorry, because of your pronouns, but for me, I would make sure to be transparent about all the sourcing and where the funding goes from. And I would make sure that my customers know that all my materials are ethically sourced. So I'm just going to react to that. That's extremely important. And I'm very, very impressed that you thought of that immediately. Just like Alex said in her slides before, being ethically sourced is probably one of the biggest things that a brand can do to make sure that they actually succeed and stuff. Just because, again, based on the environment, just based on caring about who's buying your product and all of that, that's extremely important. So again, making sure that it's ethically sourced, not just environmentally. So like not just the materials, but also the people who make it and stuff, and just caring. That can go a long way. Can we get anybody else? And again, feel free to take yourself off of mute. All right, then I guess we'll move on to the second question. Hopefully we'll get more participation on this one. Alex, do you want to read it?
Sure. In your future business, what would your consumer goods or services be, and how would you market them? I would prefer if Camdy and I did not say anything, and we just ask you guys just off your own opinion. Like, are you guys interested in anything, making a jewelry company or something like that? Just let us know. Like, what would you do?
And nothing is too small, so we would love to hear any ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope to study clean energy. So I'd like to find some sort of clean energy source and then market it to consumers through. Not really sure how I'd market it. Like that's the hard part.
Definitely. So with your clean energy and stuff, have you started like looking into it? So like hydropower or wind power, that kind of thing?
I started doing some research, yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Anybody else?
I know you guys want to create something.
Come on, we don't want to have to call anybody out. Okay, wait, someone says. It depends on what the products are. Trust on the process and the products as well. Yes, that's definitely important. It really does depend on what the products are. Okay, Jocelyn also wants to start a nonprofit.
That's awesome.
I definitely just say go for it. I think like a lot of people wait until they have like enough people or like a big enough reason. And I think that there's a market for almost anything and stuff. So please, if you really want to do it, I think you should do it. And yeah,
I'm thinking about like clothing brands and stuff, and because I'm more lenient about graphic art and designs. So yeah.
That's awesome, Nia.
so we definitely love that. How do you think you would market it or advertise it?
Probably through social medias like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, because I saw a lot of people use that
Hmm.
format, like platform to do it. Yeah.
Definitely. Good job.
Yeah. I'm sorry for pronouncing your name incorrectly, Samitha. She said she has a passion for interior designing and she would market it towards an adult audience, which is amazing because I don't think any teen would want to
Yeah.
fix their room. I mean,
So first
and
of all,
she also started her own nonprofit. That's amazing.
I'm gonna applaud you for the marketing to adults and stuff because I think I would be way too intimidated to do so. So you're better than me. But also for your nonprofit and stuff, I think mental health is such an important thing. Mental health is such an important thing when it comes to business and stuff like that, or even just life in general, just because a lot of us are teenagers. And if you're not okay, like up here and stuff, it doesn't really matter what else you do on the side because it won't come out as good as it can be. So even just in general, take care of your mental health, and I'm sure your nonprofit will do great.
Yeah. And then Ashley, she said it would be cool to make another social media app directly more narrowly towards activism. Not very sure about the specifics yet, but it would have a more narrowed brand slash focus towards activism. That's amazing, especially with everything that's going on right now. You should definitely hop on that right now.
Definitely.
Anyone else?
Okay. And then I also got a question. I don't know how to pronounce your name, so I'm so sorry. I don't even want to attempt because I really don't want to butcher it, and it's so beautiful. But she said, "What is the first thing you think you should think of, like when starting a business?" And honestly, for me, I think it depends on the kind of business that you're trying to do. But if you're trying to do a nonprofit or some kind of a service to people, it's really important to make sure that you actually have like you've already established like a customer base. So for example, we didn't start developing this program until we had about 400 or so followers, just because we knew that it doesn't really make sense to advertise or put out a service if you don't really have anyone that you know is going to buy it or participate in it. So we've grown a lot since that time and stuff, but I do think it's really, really important to make sure you have some sort of a base or some sort of a customer that you know are interested in what you do.
And then for me personally, you really have to understand that you have to be flexible. So in the beginning, Camden and I, we actually geared this towards 5th through 8th grade students because we wanted to kind of show them like, oh, maybe I should go into business or maybe I should go into STEM, just to show them the business side of everything. And you know what 5th grader will willingly sign themselves up for a summer program. You know, they're elementary students. So that's where we had to be flexible and accept that we need to teach high school students that are actually looking for a career path. So we're really happy that it's mostly high school students and a few college freshmen. But yeah, definitely you have to be flexible on that.
All right. If there's nobody else, we'll do the last question. So, what do you think future customers want from you, and what concept that you've learned today can you use to help achieve this? So, I want to get some answers before we answer by ourselves.
Maybe Jocelyn can answer or
Guys, this
I
session
feel,
isn't super big, so go ahead.
I feel like customers today, especially since with social media and things like that, publicity is like way more important. Um, I think they're more focused on how ethical companies are because I see like people boycotting this, and child labor and sweat factories, things like that. I think that has been put in a better light, I guess. More people are aware of it, I feel like, than they would have been in the past.
Definitely.
yeah.
I definitely agree. And I think just making sure that your products are good and stuff like that, definitely. We have a few more in the chat. There's service and high quality products, definitely. I think almost it might be easier actually to do the product first and then the service, or honestly it depends on what kind of business you want. But it's just making sure that again you have a base for that kind of thing, so you're not really wasting any resources or anything. Um, That's funny. Okay, somebody said like wanting the burger to look the same as the picture. I agree with that actually because I think burgers online always look so much better than they do in person. And that's kind of sad. So if you're able to do that, I promise you I will literally be the first person to buy it. Please do. And then Ashley said sustainable products, definitely.
Huge. That's a huge growing market. Oh, with the burger. Oh, is it like the meat?
Yeah,
Right?
it doesn't look as good.
And then Abigail said transparency. That is huge.
Yes.
That is huge because a lot of even big companies, they're very not transparent with their customers. So a lot of they receive a lot of backlash for that.
Mhm. And again, it's just easier. I don't really understand why so many people um, receive backlash on it because I think it's such an easy thing to fix. So
Mhm.
if you just go in at first and just be honest about what you're doing, or if like, again, it's just about like not cutting corners and actually like taking the time to be good at what you do as opposed to getting more money. And I think your business has a lot better chance of succeeding. Okay, y'all are very passionate about this burger, and I'm
Yes.
honestly here for it. I love that. Please keep talking about the burger.
Ethically and reliable. Yep. That's again huge.
Oh
They
my god,
put
I
all
love
the
people.
ingredients on one side of the burger to make it look. I saw a video like exposing how like people make like the food commercials, and I don't know like if you guys know, but like for pancakes, like they make it out of cardboard and then they just pour syrup on it. And anyways, that was very upsetting.
I
But
don't see that.
if one of you guys can make a hamburger that looks as beautiful as it looks on the ads, then please, I will. I am all for it.
Literally, I will be the first person to buy it. Please do.
And then Sophia said ethically and reliable. That's huge. That's very huge.
Definitely. And honestly, this is like only day 2 and you guys already know all of this. So you guys are already on a great track. So if you want to start a business, please do.
Do it.
Like literally, I have nothing but faith in all of you. All right. Is there anything else? I study business at school. Okay, that's why. Same, but that's still amazing. Good job. All right.
I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay. All right. So we finished a little bit early, but that's basically what we wanted to get through. So, and probably, oh, wait. Yes, a unique idea. Oh my God, we didn't even cover that. I think Alex will cover it later in marketing. But there's something called a USP, and it's basically a unique selling point, and it's essentially like how you differentiate your product from from everybody else and like your competitors and stuff. So if you're able to make your product special, it honestly doesn't matter how many people have done the idea and stuff. It's just how you can make it different from everybody else's. So if you can do that, you're already on a great track. That's a really good point. All right. I think we spent a lot of time on the slides today, but if anyone needs to go back, yes, like colored ice cream. If anyone needs us to go back and stuff, we would be happy to do so. If not, you guys are free to go, and we're excited for Friday.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you so much, and thank you for engaging.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
ChemD, someone said, hi, I was wondering if by the end of the course we would be able to receive any certification or proof of completion for the course. You want to answer that?
Yeah, so we are definitely working on that right now. And the reason why we haven't really discussed it is that we don't exactly know how many people are like staying in the course, because I don't know if you guys were noticing, but the numbers are fluctuating a lot. So we don't really know who's actually in here. But when we figure that out and stuff like that, there will be some sort of like certificate or certification. And if any of you guys need like, I don't know if you would ever need a letter of recommendation or something, but yeah, we can definitely help with certification.